previously on the Mechanist RPG.
Well, now that I reminisce on our geography, it seems that wouldn't be an excellent strategy, but I was thinking, perhaps, these foul islanders were attempting to use the Danets to gain a foothold onto the continent, and perhaps an appropriate new home for them in their minds might be our fair house.
I'm not sure that's the case. I think that they have marked the Danets with now especially no heirs as an easy place to move in, and they were trying to get us to wipe them out for them.
And now the adventure continues.
So, right as about the announcements begin, relaying some stories from the tournament that just concluded. Lydia concludes her conversation with Orton Lucas and moves to the front of the room and lifts her veil. And two very important things happen that you do not need an awareness check for.
For half a second, I didn't think you meant she lifted the veil over her face. I thought you just meant she flushed.
Yeah, I did too. I was very confused for a very long time.
She lifts her veil so you can see her face. Two very important things happen. The first is Reuben Piper stands up, and very surprised, and he screams, "Iris!" And at this, Tiger Will also stands up in a look of confusion.
Alright. Well, the Lucases
I
are
pull out my
taking over
pipes
the
and
Dannet
start
house.
playing a little tune.
Iris Dana looks up at King Robert on his dais. That's the fucking word. I've been missing dais for this entire fucking 2 days. Okay. She looks up at King Robert on his dais and she says, "My lords and ladies, please forgive this interruption, but honors cannot be awarded this night when grave injustices remain unaddressed. For I believe our King Robert holds justice for his people as a greater concern than mere trophies." And she doesn't wait for anything to happen. She just continued. And she says, "As my betrothed has already mentioned, I am Iris Dannet. My brother was Adam Dannet, and he now travels home to lie forever beside our ancestors. My brother was struck down in the prime of his life before it had truly begun by duplicity and deception. Not by fair and honest combat, but by poison and murder." She says, "My brother leveled certain charges against the Mechanists of attacking our lands and slaughtering our people. He sought to prove the truth of those charges with his own body, and, fearing the truth of what he had to say, the perpetrators poisoned him, bringing about his defeat on the jousting field and his death. I say now, your majesty, that my brother was murdered by the Mechanists, and I have come here tonight to demand justice for him." And before anyone says anything, the room explodes in a buzz of murmuring, shouts of support and disagreement, muttering, and everyone asking questions. The King's Guard descends upon the royal party, and gold cloaks start filing into the ballroom, and especially they start locking all the doors, and they start they close off all immediate exits.
I would like to escort Daniel
really bad
to the front of the room so that he can speak with.
Okay. I'm not gonna make you roll. It's fairly obvious.
Okay.
What's happening. So you okay, and then what does everybody else want to do?
I'll go with her.
Okay.
I want to look at Tiger like, what the hell? Can you give me anything here?
Tiger looks back at you and shrugs and moves towards the front of the room. He's not going to stand immediately by everybody else, but he will stand slightly back, in support in support of House Mechanist, and right there, so he's able to be interact with people, but definitely in the background.
Can I follow him and stand a little bit closer to help Mechanist, but also kind of watching?
Absolutely.
Cool.
I'm still watching.
You're just gonna sulk over there.
Stay in your corner and see if there's...
Nah, in fact, I'm gonna make it worse. I'm gonna pull out my pipe and just go ahead and stay very calm.
So this entire time, King Robert has been standing on his feet, banging his fists on the table, and shouting for order, bellowing, I should say, for order. And eventually the din dies down enough for him to sit back down and facepalm a glorious facepalm that only King Robert can do.
God.
And he looks up and he says, 7 hells. Did we not just conclude this accusation several days ago with a trial of combat on the tourney field? And then he immediately just waves his hand and says, no matter, obviously, both of your houses need more convincing of the king's justice. And then he looks over at Iris and he says, Lady Dennett, it is my understanding that you had recently absented yourself from your house. Where have you been, and how is it that you have come here tonight? And Iris flushes and flinches at the question, and she slowly raises her eyes and she says, Your Majesty, my father took the effort to arrange a marriage for me to Master Piper here, in fact. And she says, but I did not wish to marry, and I fled my father's household, and I made my way here to King's Landing. And Robert bellows at her, and where have you been all this time? And she flushes again, and she says, at the Jade Springs, Your Majesty. And there's a litany of responses. There's gasps, there's whispers, there's some chuckles, there's some coughs, there's some titters of laughter. And all of these continue until Robert's angry glare silences the room once more. Reuben Piper himself turns red with anger and embarrassment. And King Robert eventually continues, and these grave accusations you level against Mechanist's house, on what basis do you claim of poisoning and murder? And Iris Dennett responds, on the evidence provided to me by my family's Maester Ferris, for one. She says he attended my brother after his fall in the tourney, and Maester Ferris concluded that his pains were not the result of his injuries, but instead of a particular poison, I believe is referred to as the Tears of Lys. And she says, in addition, I know of a dagger, and she glances towards the Mechanist characters, or the you guys, and she says, I know of a dagger with a hidden vial in its hilt, carried by Maester Daniel Snow of the Mechanists, that contained the Tears of Lys poison. And I also know,
continuing to carry that around.
And I also know of a fine wine sent to my brother by an unnamed admirer on the feast night the day before the tourney. And everyone in the room are all eyes descend on Daniel Snow.
I'm standing up for this crap.
You gotta be more hunched.
So, at this, King Robert also looks to Daniel and he says, your retort.
Your Majesty, Lady Dannett, honorable members of the King's Court, and citizens of our fair land. I do carry this dagger on me, and I will pull it out.
Gasps.
And
oh god,
this dagger does have a hidden hilt, which you will find to be quite empty.
More gasps. Robert is just glaring daggers of his own at you right now.
I have the dagger. And
Sorry.
it is quite empty because I received this in the most mysterious fashion. I arrived at our tents one night after being gone to procure food and sustenance for my affair.
The appropriation of donuts.
Basically that. And when I had returned, there was a plain brown package that had not in it but this dagger and a strange vial full of a clear liquid. Knowing immediately how strange the situation might be, I took this to one of the king's meisters, to Meister Julian, who you will find is still in King's Landing, and with his assistance we distilled this liquid down to a fine powder, and this powder is indeed the Tears of Lys. However, let it be known to all that this is not something that is hidden, or something that I brought to King's Landing, but something that was given to me, and is as much a mystery in its origin to myself as to all of you. Now, you will find Maester Julian here, and Maester Pycelle, the Grand Maester of our king, and he can verify that we brought this directly to your attention and did not keep it a secret, but have made this mystery known to many, including several in the Maesters Guild, and a high-ranking Maester.
King Robert takes a point. Oh, are you going to name drop Maester Pycelle?
Yes.
Okay, do that real fast.
Can I roll awareness?
He did.
It's looking
I already
for
did.
specific
You already did?
things.
Okay, good. King Robert waves at a member of the King's Guard and two gold cloaks, and he yells, "Fetch Grand Maester Pycelle and this Maester Julian."
Additionally,
and so a few guards leave.
Additionally, we have explained details of this heinous plot to members of the King's Guard who assisted us in our search for Maester Pycelle.
Sir Jamie Lannister steps forward and he says, it's true I have met them before, but I do not know specifically of what he speaks of.
Nevertheless, my king,
I honestly don't remember. What did you tell him?
I told him that we needed to
He
find...
was there when we were talking.
Yeah,
to...
so he knows.
Due to a medical
so he
emergency.
knows that, and he saw the transfer over to Grand Maester Pycelle. It's true. He did witness all that. And actually, he'll just say that he says, I was there when they transferred the vial with the powder over to Grand Maester Pycelle.
As we wait for these maesters, Your Majesty, honorable citizens, we do offer deep condolences to the Dannet family on the loss of Lord Dannet. It was never our intention to be party to his demise, and we deeply regret any loss of life. However, we are not responsible for his untimely death, and we submit ourselves to the court for any necessary questioning or search.
I don't.
Okay.
Well, you're not with the group. So.
That's right. Okay, cool.
Robert seems patient, or seems I mean he's answered, but he seems like he's okay with waiting for the maesters to confirm your claims. But at this point, Orton Lugas steps forward and he says, Your Majesty, having heard these disturbing charges, I find that I must speak. As you well know, my sister's betrothed, Langley Woods, perished after the melee in what was thought to be a regrettable accident. Langley himself was somewhat delicate. However, I must tell you, in his last hours, Sir Langley suffered from the same maladies described by Lady Dannet. It seems that he also perished from being poisoned by the Tears of Lys. In addition, I have also seen this dagger of which Lady Dannet speaks, though that is not of import at the moment, since it is plainly in front of you. I also know that these Mechanist individuals are not the most honorable of all of your subjects. I have it on good authority that one of them has impregnated his own bastard here just while he has been here. and another one has just now reclaimed a bastard of his own making, several years past. In addition to all this, I would also raise the fact that even if you did turn in the Tears of Bliss that you have in the dagger, that certainly does not mean that they did not have more in the vial. And that certainly does not explain the fine wine gifted to Sir Adam Dannett on the night of the feast and the day before he passed.
Can I speak? Or are you still reading?
No, that's all. And he, so he basically talks about how he believes that you poisoned Langley Woods as well to get a leg up in the melee, and that is very suspicious that both noblemen dying from the Tears of Bliss has been at the hands of House Mechanist. And right when he brings up Langley Woods, Marita bursts into tears, and she tries to run out of the Great Hall.
That's fine. I would like to walk from the wall.
Okay.
And I'm quite far from the room, from the front of the room, and I'd like to say, Your Majesty. And as the room kind of spreads apart, I am from House Mechanist. I walk forward. This is roleplay. Sorry. And taking a knee. And bowing my head, and then looking up at the king and say, Your Majesty, you should know. Sorry, let me get my voice on. Hi. Your Majesty, you should know that the woman who proclaimed for me to be the father is actually not. I've never been here before. And you should know that if we were to call her in here, I feel like someone could find her pretty easily. We didn't get a name, but we know where the blacksmith is, and we know where his shop is, so we could find her pretty easily. We could bring her here, and she would tell you the truth, that I am not the father, and that she was told by some unknown assailant to make a fool of me. And you know how it is. When tournaments happen, you kind of want to make people look like a fool. Like, that's all in good games. I'm assuming that the king laughs because he understands that this is how this works.
He slightly smirks at you.
Yeah, and
but
then
generally he's not pleased that this is happening in the first place.
Obviously, my brother here, this slayer of gods.
Whoa.
Not you. I'm pointing at Ulfric at this moment. I'm pointing at Ulfric. The slayer of gods, the man who can take down the mountain.
Looks around.
Took on this boy, even though he wasn't the actual father, has such a kind heart that he wanted to take this boy in, because this boy has no father. And you can understand that that's just kindness. He's not actually the father at all. Lastly, I would like to say that, although all of these people seem to claim that we're these evil people, I'd like to say that we did bring in someone who's been a thorn in your side for a long amount of time. A man named Fox Knight. We brought him in, and he's in your jail. He probably won't say anything because he's a lunatic, as we all know. But for real, we did bring him in, and we were hoping that that would help with favor with you, because not many people just take down bounties and bring them straight to you for your decisions on what to do with them.
So, I'm going to make you roll persuasion 3 times.
Okay.
1 is going to be for convincing Robert that you didn't impregnate the girl.
How low is it going to be? If it's above 12, I can't make it. If it's
that particular one will be a 9.
Okay, I'd probably lose, but continue.
Maybe. The second one is going to be convince him that Argyus is not the father, and that Neil isn't really his spawn. That one's going to be a 6.
But we can bring the boy in, so that's fine.
Or you could bring the boy in. The boy has never admitted that Argyus isn't his father. So there is that. That Ulrich isn't his father.
Yeah, but Ulrich also has a lot more pull with the king right now.
But
he totally took down the mountain. You gotta remember that.
And he is kind of pleased at that because he likes watching the Lannisters suffer.
Right.
And then the last one is going to be whether he's going to bring in the Fox Knight or not.
I don't really care about the Fox Knight. I threw it in there thinking, what the hell? But what number?
No, that was a good idea. If you can get the Fox Knight in, some shit might go down.
Cool. So 9.
So the first one's 9.
And I got a 7.
Okay, so Robert smirks at you, and first of all he says, "Well, I personally don't."
You know what? I take out my penis and show him it's tiny.
Stop! No, it's horrible.
Hey, he's being honest.
Show your penis to the king.
He says, "I'm certain there are a lot of women who are trying to get bastards off of traveling noblemen for attorneys, but you do not convince me. You seem as the sort that you might make a bastard here and there in your wake. Leave a piece."
I'd like the 3 mercenaries to pop up and be like, "Yeah, we've seen his penis. It's tiny."
Well, again, while he's doing that, one of you guys can roll awareness, empathy on Marita Lucas to see what her tears were about.
7.
Tom?
Just a 7.
Okay, so he is convinced that Ulrich is not the father.
Yeah.
7 on the awareness.
I wrote a 19.
What'd you get?
7.
A 19 on the awareness.
Oh, 19 on the awareness. Okay, so you know, obviously, that Marita is just putting on an act to try to convince people that she actually cares.
She just splashes water in her face.
She's just kind of blubbering, trying to make the scene more dramatic. So yeah, he's convinced that Ulrich is not the father, and that has obviously raised his disposition towards all of you, because even though he will never admit it in court that he has left bastards in his own wake, and under his hard "I'm the king with a gigantic warhammer" exterior, he really does have a really soft heart, especially for children. So there's that, and then that one
7.
Okay,
The other ones were 8, so everyone knows I actually rolled 6s and 2s. But that's not helpful. This is the first 5 and 2 I rolled.
That's enough. King Robert says, "Well, he turns to the gold cloaks and he says, 'Bring in Lord Clayton Arcay.
Is that the
We'll
Fox
see
Knight?
what he has to say.'" Yeah, that's the
And by the way, I actually asked, is that the Fox Knight?
Yes. Robert's disposition towards the House Mechanist as in general remains the same, but his disposition towards specifically you is lowered back down to dislike, and he says, "Yes, you nitwit. That's the Fox Knight."
Hi. I'm just a ranger.
Okay. So, does anybody else want to do something?
I'd like to take a new position.
I would like to,
Are the maesters here yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I would like to confront, what's the name of the
I missed the first time.
Lugas girl?
Marita.
Yeah, I would like to try to intimidate Marita Lugas to stop her blubbering.
Okay.
Would you please?
That's 9.
You run over and you're trying to convince her to stop blubbering when the Bravosi physically gets between you and her.
Oh,
Not a good idea, buddy.
And he doesn't like draw any weapons or anything, but he then like cradles Marita and kind of like shields her from you.
I would like to address the king and say, "My grace, it is obvious that this woman has found someone else very quickly after her betrothed's death. I do not think that she is truly so heartbroken about losing him."
Okay, roll persuasion.
Had to. We need this.
Oh, that's 13.
Okay, that's definitely enough. He looks and he's like, yes, it seems that she has moved on rather quickly. What is your name there? And he points to the Bravosi, and the Bravosi turns around and he says, a man's name is Mayo Varick, and he says, a man is only a simple spice merchant. A man is just traveling in King's Landing. A man just wanted to console a woman in a woman's time of need.
Alright, how the hell do you spell that?
Like Mayyo and Verrek.
You.
I'd like to do an empathy to see if he... Is that what you were going to say?
I was going to tell you that you should tell the king that we have seen them together several times within the past week that we've been at King's Landing.
Remind me when.
In the Jade Springs.
Okay.
They were together. That's the first time I saw
You can
them.
do either one. In fact, I'll let you do both if you really want to.
Tell him or roll empathy. Which do you mean?
Like, I'll let you do both if you
Okay.
really want to.
I'd like to roll empathy first.
Okay. On Mayo.
Mayo?
Okay.
I would like to just say, My Grace, we have seen them together several times this past week, and then turn to Daniel and say, isn't that right?
Okay, let me do empathy first, and then I'll do that, because I feel like there's something I'm missing.
Okay.
I want to know what's going on.
16.
Okay.
Oh, I got better than that.
So
11 plus... this is 6. What's 6 plus 11 are, guys?
17.
I got a 17.
So you both know. You look at Mayo, and he's. You know this from your dealings with merchants in the past. When merchants are dealing with people, you kind of start to hit a wall where you're wealthy, but you're not like super wealthy. And it's hard to tell from the untrained eye. It's like really just like fine quality things, like in the embroidery and what they're wearing, and the detail work in like rings or physical jewelry or like visible weapons, and you know that Mayo has more money than he's really letting on, and really what would make sense, knowing that he's. Or with him claiming that he's only a spice merchant, and that implies that he's dealing in something significantly more expensive than spices.
Spices are kind of expensive.
Spices are expensive, not kind of.
Spices are expensive.
Very expensive.
But something more expensive than spices.
I'm so sorry.
I have weed too.
I need to go for
To the bathroom?
real quick.
Okay, we'll take a quick break.
It's also 1 o'clock and
It
it's
is,
2 o'clock for
but
him.
you're so close to finishing this.
And I am very dumb.
Half a conversation away.
Like extremely close.
Damn. Excuse me. That was my colon.
No, it was your
That's
spleen.
frightening.
That was my spleen. I just got punched in the spleen.
It's late enough that my notes are starting to become more colloquial and, well, recently I've written down that Marita Logus shows up big, not Logus, that tells you where my English is at. Big exclamation point says HM equals asshole murderers.
That's about right.
So, let's just recap. The Maesters, I will just tell you, are quite soon to arrive. Lord RK is going to arrive a little bit after that. Robert still has questions about the mysterious circumstances between Adam Dannett and Langley Woods' death. Orton still has an ace up his sleeve, and you don't truly understand this interaction with this Bravosi and Marita Logus. I mean, you're almost there, but there is a little bit of that remaining.
I'm just going to throw everything on the table unless anybody's going to stop it.
I'd like to stop it. Why do we put everything on the table?
Because we're really close.
We
to
don't
the
really
end.
have anything that we haven't said. So.
We have one more thing we haven't said.
Go for it.
All right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think we've thrown it. I thought we threw everything on the table like an hour ago. Actually, that's not true. I got a weird thing in my belt. Oh no, I don't have that sword anymore.
I have an ace up her sleeve. Your Majesty, the accusations leveled against us are truly troubling. However, I have questions regarding the veridicality of this man's testimony.
And who do you point to?
The
Bravosi?
Bravosi.
Okay.
Bravosi.
Whatever his stupid Bravosi
Does his
name is.
appearance not point to being more than simply a humble spice trader? Indeed, I have noticed him, in fact we all have noticed him, cohorting with this woman and with Orton Lugus many times over the past era we have been in King's Landing. Indeed, we also have reason to believe that he has sent thugs of Bravosi origin to assassinate members of our house, including myself. We have discovered upon the bodies of these individuals a note which my companion here carries. Let it be known that this is of Bravosi origin, and the people who would most want to damage our house are this Bravosi man.
Robert points to Gold Cloaks and he says, search those two, and he points to Mayo Varick and Orton Lugus. And
I thought you were going to search me, and I was going to whip my shit.
No. Mayo kind of just raises his arms and like a come at me bro sort of thing. But Orton does start to flip his shit, and he physically tries to get away from the Gold Cloak's grasp. But he isn't able to.
I would like to hand the note to the King's Guard standing next to Robert for good measure.
Okay. Sir Marin Trant grabs it begrudgingly, and then flicks it up onto the table so that they can see it.
Of course it would be.
Worst bailiff ever.
Here.
Take it.
So the Gold Cloaks shout up to King Robert that Mayo doesn't have anything on him, though, besides an absurd amount of gold dragons. It appears he has almost 200 gold dragons on him right now.
Can we steal those?
Can I take his pocket right now?
Which is incredibly suspicious.
I'm gonna murder him as soon as we get out of this banquet hall. 2
pieces of paper have been lifted from Orton Lugus. One is... and they are both delivered to King Robert, and he looks at both of them. One details Bravosi, is written in a Bravosi, I don't want to say moniker, I don't think that's the right word, but sort of rhythm. It says to the effect of it says, firstly, please forgive my writing. Is not in easy language, and you do not trust other people to write you for clear reasons. And it says, a man is surprised to receive your request, but pleased to hear from such dear old friend. You are connect to one that is not married. Is foolish for a man to hold false hope that a man is to marry above one's station. But a man is foolish sometimes. A man is moved by the words you related from lovely Marita. One knows one cannot hope to hear from her directly. One has cried many tears for love. So many a man has tears to share with a man, and would gladly shed tears for his old dear friends also. A man's business might take him to King's Landing at the King's Tournament. perhaps a man can shed tears for his old dear friend at that time. A man would expect a normal payment for such emotional givings. Respect to your family, and it is signed Patek.
That really settled there.
Do we know who Patek is?
Should we roll knowledge?
You roll cunning logic.
I want to roll awareness.
Meanwhile, King Robert looks at both pieces of writing, both this one and the a man Daniel Snow knows too much, a man has to die, and he says that the two handwritings match.
Ooh.
You.
19.
You know that if this heavily implies that this Bravosi is dealing not in spices, as he's claiming, but expensive poisons such as Tears of Bliss. And so when you're dealing with such illegal substances, it would probably behoove you to use a fake name in public, especially if you're going quote-unquote undercover, if you will, as a spice dealer.
Indeed.
So this guy's real last name is probably Patek. The other one is a slip of paper that is signed CA, and it appears to be like a confirmation that it is start off by Lord Lugus. It says something to the effect of, because of the debt I owe, I will do as you wish. I offer this brief account of my actions as proof that the debt between us will be discharged in full. Upon receiving your instructions, I am going to engage the services of several sellswords who frequent these inn-houses along the King's Road, scum who supported the usurper during his rebellion. I suspect only one other than myself has proclaimed allegiance to the rightful king, though I confess I'm uncertain how true his loyalty was and how much he aimed to pick fights with the rest of our party. Such cantankerous and quarrelsome cur I've never before crossed paths with. On my attention to hire this rebellious scum, I will command them per your instructions to raid a farm on the outskirts of Danet Lands, as close to House Mechanist as I can. I pre-scouted this area, and per your suspicions, the Danets have not placed any extra swords around this homestead, so I expect a quite easy raid. I have acquired the shield that you have sent me and intend to smear it with farmer's blood and leave it at the scene of the carnage, and hopefully it will correctly place blame where you hope. He says, I take no joy in the slaughter of innocents. I don't specifically recall the name of House Danet among the usurper's forces, but surely they fought alongside their Lord Tully and Blackfish. Thus I take comfort in the knowledge that these small folk were enemies of the true crown. I should add that I acquired the items you requested as proof of my deeds. If the courier does not deliver them to you with this letter, I suggest that you put him to death immediately. The farm is poor, but I believe my mercenaries will be satisfied with their plunder. I know you won't approve, but I intend to recruit my fellow loyalist as my accomplice in the final part of this mission. I intend to offer him the combined pay of all others and the opportunity to shed rebel blood and slit the throats of his old compatriots. He says, I trust that after these actions, my debt will be paid in full, and as I cannot remain in good conscience, remain allies with a man who would lick the boots of that fatlet from the storm's end, whose stinking carcass now corrupts our rightful king's throne, this will be the end of our interactions. No doubt if you need to contact me again, you will acquire a means to do so, but I ask you to respect my privacy hereafter. You have purported yourself a true friend of the Targaryens, and I would be loath to lift my sword against you. And it's signed, Go with the 7CA.
Alright.
Have we met someone with the initial CA?
Roll cunning, knowledge, memory.
Do you guys remember if we have? Is the Fox's Night initial CA?
Roll cunning, memory.
He succeeded.
19.
The Fox's Night initials name is Clayton R.K.
Yeah, so that was just to see if I'm a dumbass.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
Yeah. Right about this time, Clayton R.K. himself is drug into the audience chambers, and at this point, reading all of this out loud, King Robert is pretty steamed, especially because he was referred to as a usurper, and that his stinking carcass was, and a fat lech was sitting around King's Landing. So he's pretty steamed, and once Clayton R.K. walks in, he throws the paper at his face, and bellows out, "Did you write this, you traitorous scum?" And Clayton R.K. just spits in the direction of King Robert and starts spewing gibberish. He's talking about the Targaryens. He's saying something about how Rhaegar is going to rise from the dead. He yells something at Orton Lugas, saying something to the effect of, "I did what you asked me to do. Why did you let me be captured? Why didn't you break me out of the black cells?" It's a lot of information, and you don't have time to process all of it. While he's doing this, King Robert raises his hand backward, and Sir Ellen Payne hands him a longsword, and King Robert moves to the front of the dais. The gold cloaks put Clayton R.K. on his knees, and with one swift stroke, King Robert Baratheon decapitates Clayton R.K. in front of the entire gathered feasting hall.
I popped a boner.
You.
I did not gross out. I got an 8.
Nice.
I think
there are screams, and Cersei especially looks pissed because she knows that he probably shouldn't have done that in front of everyone. But Robert personally looks like he feels better.
Well, I feel better about it, for goodness sakes.
And then he glares at Orton Lugas. Oh, also, with the death of the Fox Knight, all of your side quest about the Fox Knight has now been resolved. So all of you get
That was not an easy quest.
That was a shit long test.
You shouldn't have even...
I'm going to give you each 20 experience.
That's very fair, because you didn't even think he would live past our encounter, or that we wouldn't capture him, so...
You weren't supposed to capture him.
We're just that good.
This is 20 experience for the satisfaction of Robert of getting to kill.
Hey, I feel satisfied too. I feel really satisfied right now.
After this,
Thank you, Shadowcat, who is mysteriously absent.
Robert Baratheon points a bloodied sword at Orton Lugas and just says, "Speak." And Orton Lugas is fairly flabbergasted, is the best term I could use for him. He honestly did not expect that you guys were going to be able to figure out his plot, because he is supremely arrogant.
Also, we're kind of a bunch of dumbasses who just kind of get lucky.
We got so lucky.
Every time.
He claims that everything was forged, obviously, but it's obvious to everyone that it wasn't actually forged.
Deception fails.
And so his deception fails. You see Nathan laughing at Orton over in the corner. Orton tries to tell you that, tells everyone that he didn't do any of these things, and in fact he wants to improve the realm and give something back, and he right then there turns to Irish Dannett and he proposes a marriage. He says, "My family would certainly be happy to have a male heir out of their hair, and I would be happy to take over to manage Dannett lands until a suitable until a suitable male heir arrives. Doubtlessly, everyone thinks that's complete bullshit, and he's obviously covering his tracks. And two people step forward immediately and say, "I would be very willing to marry Iris Dannett." Tiger Will and Reuben Piper both immediately step forward and offer to marry Iris Dannett, despite her past. Despite her past, her most recent past. It's kind of pretty scandalous for the Dannetts for her to run off and work as a high-priced call girl like she did.
Tiger.
Iris Dannett initially kind of stalls, and you can roll awareness, empathy on her to see how she feels about this.
Sure thing, boss.
21.
Okay. So you you see that she honestly has
Wait.
grown.
Can I roll? What are we rolling?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You see that
I got a 14.
Iris Dannett obviously cares for Tiger Will, and she's grown to know him, and she honestly loves him, and she wants him to remain safe and out of the conflict. But instead, Robert stands up and he says, the Will household is just recovering from their and Tiger has been attempting to restitute his house, beginning with the reacclamation of his family's Valyrian steel sword heirloom scorpion. The Dannetts have been left heirless. I see no reason why these two houses should not be able to be joined. And so you look over and Maester Ferris is nodding in happiness, and you see that the two of them are pretty happy.
Poor forgettable fat guy.
And
Yeah, pretty
Reuben Piper is disappointed, but he's harmless. He probably does. He wants the best for her, and he's kind of embarrassed that it's not him, but he's not gonna put up a fight about it. King Robert looks at Orton Lucas and he says,
Also, King Robert believes in love.
King Robert looks at Orton Lucas and he says, in light of these accusations, you have two options. And two other men get up from the feast hall who have been sitting down this entire time, and they move towards the front, and both of them are dressed all in black. And Robert looks at Orton Lucas and says, you have two options in light of these fierce allegations, and in light of your crimes. You can either face public execution right here, right now, or you may take the black and travel north and man the wall for the rest of your days.
Ooh.
And the two, as they get closer, you realize that the two guys dressed all in black are members of the Night's Watch, and they are in town recruiting members for the Night's Watch. And Orton looks at the Night's Watch, looks at Robert, looks at the Night's Watch, looks at Robert, and tells Robert, I will travel north and take the black. And so with that, you guys complete the big man quest.
What about the Maesters that were coming?
What Maesters? Oh, the Maesters, yeah. They can be there and they can bear witness, but they don't need to.
We kicked their ass anyway, yeah.
You kicked ass anyway.
After everyone settles back down to eating, Maester Pycelle shuffles in and goes, Did you need me?
And Robert just throws a chicken wing at his head.
Apparently he's a lot like Lord Sassy.
And so, with that concludes your main quest, your Peril in King's Landing.
Good job, guys.
Main quest.
Send by more, guys.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, that was really good.
So, all all of you gain 50 experience.
Wow. I love you, Sassy. I love you also, Hugo. I love you a lot.
Can we fast travel home?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to fast travel. So now, this is the end of the written storyline. If there's anything else you'd like to talk to about, before you travel back from the feast and spend your night in your tents, you should do it now.
While we're all in this like weird gathering sort of thing, I just smile and nod knowingly at Tiger, like, yeah, you're getting laid.
He blushes and nods emphatically.
I would like to spit on the Bravosi that's still, I assume, being held by Kingsguard as I walk by.
Okay.
And head back to the tent.
You turn around to try to spit on that Bravosi, but suddenly and mysteriously it appears that Marita Lugas and his name is Gloris Patek were able to slip around the Kingsguard and escape.
Of course they were going to deal with her.
An ass.
Are they still in the room enough that I could roll awareness and check?
What's his first name?
What?
Could I roll awareness to see if I see them in the room anywhere?
You can.
I'm not going to
certainly try.
Loris or Boris?
It's like Glorus. It's Glaurus.
17.
You don't see.
Yeah, of course not, because I'm not there.
Alright.
What else was there from current storylines? So the big Lugas is still there.
Nathan Lucas is still there, and he seems...
He's too dumb to have anything to do with
He's laughing off his brother, and he doesn't care. It's less competition for him in heir to the Lugas family house and lands.
And Marita and the Bavarian.
Bravosi
are gone. It's tired.
It's
tired and I'm late.
You can roll awareness empathy on them, like
distance.
Yeah, like just thinking about it. If you know what the action's gonna be.
They're gonna go get married. It's so sweet.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not, is it?
Breed with those.
16.
Okay, you know that both of them didn't necessarily have anything against you in particular, or Mechanist House, I should say, in particular, and their only real allegiances was to each other, and so they are quite likely going to find a boat and travel over the narrow sea into Essos and spend the rest of their days together in their sick little twisted abusive relationship. Because she likes flirting with other men to make him jealous, and then she likes it when he kills such men because he's jealous.
That is what Healbot calls a fetish.
Apparently that's basically the same fetish as Healbot.
I hate you all.
So it's a little bit more golden shower based, but you know, it's similar.
Just had to bring it up one more
time. You
stepped
over the line just now.
We should have a chat with Julian, specifically Bob should have a chat with Julian and see what his plans are, and if he doesn't want to stay in King's Landing, if maybe he'd join us.
Okay.
So I assume, since Maester Pycelle arrived better late than never afterwards, that Maester Julian came with him.
Maester Julian is hanging around. Yeah.
All right, I'd like to approach Maester Julian and say, thank you so much for your assistance in this great mystery. While it is somewhat a shame to have such fascinating proceedings behind us now, it is good to keep all trouble out of our way.
He nods and says, yes.
He just pointed at his penis, ladies and gentlemen. Second Bob, second R. Haven't been paying attention this entire time. Only came across when that happened.
Yes. That was
that 20.
I would like to roll awareness to see if anyone is still talking about the murder of the... What's the name for the clergyman?
Oh, Septon Garamond?
Yeah.
Sure.
See if anyone's still
You can do that. Meanwhile, they're having their conversation. And Maester Julian says, yes, I am pleased to have helped you in the best way that I could.
You mentioned that there may not be much room for you here in King's Landing. I still look forward to attending the Maester's Conclave with you here. However, when this is all finished, I would be most honored if you would consider joining us permanently at House Mechanist. We always need additional hands, and you have proven yourself to be most worthy.
He nods and he looks over at Grand Maester Pycelle and King Robert, and he says, yes, actually it seems that your testimony here tonight has improved my standing in both the eyes of Grand Maester Pycelle and the King, and it appears that I'm actually getting a promotion.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, my friend, if ever you need assistance or a warm hearth, you have our gratitude.
I thought you were going to say a warm hug.
Or a warm hug.
Bring it in, everybody.
Or a warm penis. He nods to you and he says, yes, if you are ever in King's Landing again, come see me at my little maester's building, and I will loan you.
That's still the name for the bathroom, is the little maester's
in my maester's building, and I will loan you all of the books that you would ever need. I would loan you all of the books that you would never need on exotic poisons.
Indeed. Well, I will see you later at the conclave.
He nods and says, yes, it should be an interesting affair.
Alright. I am finito and walk away.
I'm gonna head back too.
What'd you roll?
Oh, I rolled
For
a...
second game?
what is that? 12, 16, 21.
You hear from people who say they lived in the area where Septon Garamond led his services. And they said, and you hear some people saying that they knew him personally and that he was one of the best men that they ever knew in their entire life, and that he was likely just distributing coin from a local donor to orphans when he was shot and the donation was stolen.
Okay, so no one's suspecting. Not really.
They know that he died by arrow, but you don't hear anyone specifically accuse anyone in particular.
What's your language?
In this?
Yes.
Common. Tone?
We're all common.
You have a 7 of language or 2 of
2.
language? Okay, thank you.
I speak 5 languages. None of which you've heard yet.
And I will tell you that they are speaking the truth. That the sellswords lied to Aeth and told him that he sexually abused children, but the guy was actually a really good guy.
Well, as long as I don't tell Aeth, he can rest easily.
I don't really care.
No.
Sorry, guys.
She's cruel, so...
I was saving my own skin.